Good evening. I hope you had a pleasant day today. I'm going to carry on reading this amazing book. This is part 5, reading the MasterKey system, written by Charles F.Haanel. It's an amazing book which helps you understand the law of attraction, and it allows you to achieve amazing successes in life. We're on page 150, number 21. Vibration is the action of thought. It is vibration which reaches out and attracts the material necessary to construct and build. There's nothing mysterious concerning the power of thought. Concentration simply implies that consciousness can be focalized to the point where it becomes identified with the object of its attention. As food absorbs is the essence of the body, so the mind absorbs the object of its attention, gives it life and being. Number 22. If you concentrate on some matter of importance, the intuitive power will be set in operation, and help will come in the nature of information, which will lead to success. Number 23. Intuition arrives at conclusions without the aid of experience or memory. Intuition often solves problems that are beyond the grasp of the reasoning power. Intuition often comes with a suddenness that is startling. It reveals the truth for which we are searching so directly that it seems to come from a higher power. Intuition can be cultivated and developed. In order to do this, it must be recognized and appreciated. If the intuitive visitor is given a royal welcome when he comes, he will come again. The more cordial the welcome, the more frequent his visits will become. But if he is ignored or neglected, he will make his visits few and far apart. Number 24. Intuition usually comes in the silence. Great minds seek solitude frequently. As it is here that all the larger problems of life are worked out. For this reason, every businessman who can afford it has a private office where he will not be disturbed. If you cannot afford a private office, you can at least find somewhere where you can be alone a few minutes each day to train the thought along lines which will enable you to develop that invincible power which is necessary to achieve. Number 25. Remember that fundamentally, the subconscious is omnipotent. There is no limit to the things that can be done when it is given the desire to act. Your degree of success is determined by the nature of your desire. If the nature of your desire is in harmony with natural law of the universal mind, it will gradually emancipate the mind and give you invincible courage. Number 26. Every obstacle conquered, every victory gained will give you more faith in your power, and you will have greater ability to win. Your strength is determined by your mental attitude. If this attitude is one of success and is permanently held with an unswerving purpose, you will attract to yourself from the invisible domain the things you silently demand. Number 27. By keeping the thought in mind, it will gradually take tangible form. A definite purpose sets causes in motion, which go out in the invisible world and find the material necessary to serve your purpose. Number 28. You may be pursuing the symbols of power instead of power itself. You may be pursuing fame instead of honor, riches instead of wealth, position instead of service. In either event, you will find that they turn to ashes just as you overtake them. Number 29. Premature wealth or position cannot be retained because it has not been earned. We get only what we give, and those who try to get without giving always find that the law of compensation is relentlessly bringing about an exact equilibrium. Number 30. The race has hitherto been for money and other mere symbols of power. But with an understanding of the true source of power, we can afford to ignore the symbols. The man with a large bank account finds it unnecessary to load his pockets down with gold. So with the man who has found the true source of power. He is no longer interested in its shams or pretensions. Number 31. Thought ordinarily leads outwardly in evolutionary directions, but it can be turned within where it will take hold of the basic principles of things, the heart of things, the spirit of things. When you get to the heart of things, it is comparatively easy to understand and command them. Number 32. This is because the spirit of a thing is the thing itself, the vital part of it, the real substance. The form is simply the outward manifestation of the spiritual activity within. Number 33. For your next exercise, concentrate as nearly as possible in accordance with the method outlined in this part. Let there be no conscious effort or activity associated with your purpose. Relax completely. Avoid any thought of anxiety as to results. Remember that power comes through repose. Let the thought dwell upon your object until it is completely identified with it, until you are conscious of nothing else. Number 34. If you wish to eliminate fear, concentrate on courage. Number 35. If you wish to eliminate lack, concentrate on abundance. Number 36. If you wish to eliminate disease, concentrate on health. Number 37. Always concentrate on the ideal as an already existing fact. This is the Elohim, the germ cell, the life principle which goes forth and enters in and becomes, sets in motion those causes which guide, direct, and bring about the necessary relation which eventually manifests in form. Thought is the property of those only who can entertain it. Emerson. Part 17. What is the true method of concentration? To become so identified with the object of your thought that you are conscious of nothing else. Number 162. What is the result of this method of concentration? Invisible forces are set in motion which irresistibly bring about conditions in correspondence with your thought. Number 163. What is the controlling factor in this method of thought? Answer: spiritual truth. Number 164. Why is this so? Answer: because the nature of our desire must be in harmony with natural law. Number 165. What is the practical value of this method of concentration? Thought is transmuted into character, and character is a magnet which creates the environment of the individual. Number 166. What is the controlling factor in every commercial pursuit? Answer: the mental element. 167. Why is this so? Answer: because mind is the ruler and creator of all form and all events occurring in form. Number 168. How does concentration operate? Answer: by the development of the powers of perception, wisdom, intuition, and sagacity. 169. Why is intuition superior to reason? Answer: because it does not depend upon experience or memory, and frequently brings about the solution of our problem by methods concerning which we are in entire ignorance. 170. What is the result of pursuing the symbol of reality? This symbols frequently turn to ashes just as we overtake them, because the symbol is only the outward form of the spiritual activity within. Therefore, unless we can process the spiritual reality, the form disappears. The greatest events of an age are its best thoughts. It is the nature of thought to find its way into action. Bovey. We are now on part 18 on page 154. This part tells of a change in the thought of men, a change which is silently transpiring in our midst, and which is unparalleled in the history of the world. The features of tradition are being melted off from humanity, and truth is rising full-orbed before an astonished multitude. It tells how the individual is unable to control every form of intelligence which has not yet reached this level of self-recognition. It tells when and how the creative power originates. It tells how the universal produces the various combinations which result in the formation of phenomena. It explains the principle of attraction, by which things are brought together, which is the sole means by which existence is carried into effect. It explains the real source of wealth of the individual, explains the method by which attention and concentration may be developed, and shows why the power of attention is the distinguishing characteristic of every man of ability. In order to grow, we must obtain what is necessary for our growth. This is brought about through the law of attraction. This principle is the sole means by which the individual is differentiated from the universal. Think for a moment. What would a man be if he were not a husband, father, or brother? If he were not interested in the social, economic, political, or religious world? He would be nothing but an abstract, theoretical ego. He exists, therefore, only in his relation to the whole, in his relation to other men, in his relation to society. This relation constitutes his environment. He exists, therefore, in his relation to his environment and in no other way. Hence, it is evident that the individual is simply the differentiation of the universal mind, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, and his so-called individuality or personality consists of nothing but the manner in which he relates with the whole. This we call his environment, and it is brought about by the law of attraction. Part 18 has something more to say concerning this important law. Number 1, there is a change in the thought of the world. This change is silently transpiring in our midst, and is more important than any which the world has undergone since the downfall of paganism. Number 2, the present revolution is the opinions of all classes of men. The highest and most cultured of men, as well as those of the laboring class, stands unparalleled in the history of the world. Number 3, science has of late made such vast discoveries, has revealed such an infinity of resources, has unveiled such enormous possibilities and such unsuspected forces, that scientific men more and more hesitate to affirm certain theories as established and indubitable, or to deny other theories as absurd or impossible. Number 4, a new civilization is being born. Customs, creeds, and precedent are passing. Vision, faith, and service are taking their place. The fetters of tradition are being melted off from humanity. And as the dross of materialism is being consumed, thought is being liberated, and truth is rising full-orbed before an astonished multitude. Number 5, the whole world is on the eve of a new consciousness, a new power, and a new realization within the self. Physical science has resolved matter into molecules, molecules into atoms, atoms into energy, and it has remained for Sir Ambrose Fleming in an address before the Royal Institution to resolve this energy into mind. He says, in its ultimate essence, energy may be incomprehensible by us except as an exhibition of the direct operation of that which we call mind or will. Number 7, and this mind is the indwelling and ultimate. It is immanent in matter as in spirit. It is the sustaining, energizing, all-pervading spirit of the universe. Number 8, every living thing must be sustained by its omnipotent intelligence. And we find the difference in individual lives to be largely measured by the degree of this intelligence, which they manifest. It is greater intelligence that places the animal in a higher scale of being than the plant, the man higher than the animal, and we find that this increased intelligence is again indicated by the power of the individual to control modes of action and thus consciously to adjust himself to his environment. Number 9, It is this adjustment that occupies the attention of the greatest minds, and this adjustment consists in nothing else than the recognition of an order existing in the universal mind. For it is well known that this mind will obey us precisely in proportion as we first obey it. Number 10. It is the recognition of natural laws that has enabled us to annihilate time and space, to soar in the air, and to make iron float. And the greater the degree of intelligence, the greater will be our recognition of these natural laws, and the greater will be the power we can possess. Number 11. It is the recognition of the self as an individual, of this universal intelligence, that enables an individual to control those forms of intelligence, which have not yet reached this level of self-recognition. They do not know that this universal intelligence permeates all things, ready to be called into action. They do not know that it is responsive to every demand, and they are therefore in bondage to the law of their own being. Number 12. Thought is creative, and the principle on which the law is based is sound and legitimate, and is inherent in the nature of things. But this creative power does not originate in the individual, but in the universal, which is the source and foundation of all energy and substance. The individual is simply the channel from the distribution of this energy. Number 13. The individual is simply a means by which the universal produces various combinations which result in the formation of phenomena. These depend upon the law of vibration, whereby various rates of rapidity of motion in the primary substance form new substances only in certain exact numerical ratios. Number 14. Thought is the invisible link by which the individual comes into communication with the universal, the finite with the infinite, the seen with the unseen. Thought is the magic by which the human being is transformed into a being who thinks and knows and feels and acts. Number 15. As the proper apparatus has enabled the eye to discover worlds without number millions of miles away, so with the proper understanding, man has been enabled to communicate with the universal mind, the source of all power. Number 16. The understanding which is usually developed is about as valuable as a telephone box without wires or an exchange. In fact, it is usually nothing more than a belief, which means nothing at all. The Indians believe something, and so do the savages of the Cannibal Islands. But that proves nothing. Number 17. The only belief which is of any value to anyone is a belief that has been put to a test and demonstrated to be a fact. It is then no longer a belief, but has become a living faith of the truth, or the truth. Number 18. Actually, let me repeat number 17. The only belief which is of any value to anyone is a belief that has been put to a test and demonstrated to be a fact. It is then no longer a belief, but has become a living faith of the truth. Number 18. And this truth has been put to the test by hundreds of thousands of people, and it has been found to be the truth exactly in proportion to the usefulness of the apparatus which they used. Number 19. A man would not expect to locate stars hundreds of millions of miles away without a sufficiently strong telescope. And for this reason, science is continually engaged in building larger and more powerful telescopes and is continually rewarded by additional knowledge of the heavenly bodies. Number 20. So, with understanding, men are continually making progress in the methods which they use to come into communication with the universal mind and its infinite possibilities. Number 21. The universal mind manifests itself in the objective through the principle of attraction that each atom has for every other atom in infinite degrees of intensity. Number 22. It is by this principle of combining and attracting that things are brought together. This principle is of universal application and is a sole means whereby the purpose of existence is carried into effect. Number 23. The expression of growth is met in a most beautiful manner through the instrumentality of this universal principle. Number 24. Actually, I'll read number 23 again because it's very important. The expression of growth is met in a most beautiful manner through the instrumentality of this universal principle. Number 24. In order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. But as we are at all times a complete thought entity, this compensates. I beg your pardon. Let me repeat that. Number 24. In order to grow, we must obtain what is essential for our growth. But as we are at all times a complete thought entity, this completeness makes it possible for us to receive only as we give. Growth is therefore conditioned on reciprocal action, and we find that on the mental plane, like attracts like. That mental vibrations respond only to the extent of the vibratory harmony. Number 25. It is clear, therefore, that thoughts of abundance will respond only to similar thoughts. The wealth of the individual is seen to be what he inherently is. Affluence within is found to be the secret of attraction for affluence without. The ability to produce is found to be the real source of wealth of the individual. It is for this reason that he who has his heart in his work is certain to meet with unbounded success. He will give and continually give, and the more he gives, the more he will receive. Number 26. What do the great financiers of the city, the captains of industry, the statesmen, the great company lawyers, the inventors, the physicians, the authors, what do all of these contribute to the sum of human happiness but the power of their thought? Number 27. Thought is the energy by which the law of attraction is brought into operation, which eventually manifests in abundance. Number 28. The universal mind is static mind, or substance in equilibrium. It is differentiated into form by our power to think. Thought is a dynamic phase of mind. Number 29. Power depends upon consciousness of power. Unless we use it, we shall lose it. And unless we are conscious of it, we cannot use it. Number 30. The use of this power depends upon attention. The degree of attention determines our capacity for the acquirement of knowledge, which is another name for power. Number 31. Attention has been held to be the distinguishing mark of genius. The cultivation of attention depends upon practice. Number 32. The incentive of intention. Number 32. The incentive of attention is interest. The greater the interest, the greater the attention. The greater the attention, the greater the interest. Action and reaction begins by paying attention. Before long, you will have aroused interest. This interest will attract more attraction, and this attraction will produce more interest, and so on. This practice will enable you to cultivate the power of attention. Number 33. Now concentrate upon your power to create. Seek insight, perception. Try to find a logical basis for the faith which is in you. Let the thought dwell on the fact that the physical man lives and moves and has his being in the sustainer of all organic life in the air, which he must breathe to live. Then let the thought rest on the fact that the spiritual man also lives and moves and has his being in a similar but subtler energy upon which he must depend for life, and that is the physical world. No life assumes form until after a seed is sown, and no higher fruit than that of the parent stock can be produced. So in the spiritual world, no effect can be produced until the seed is sown, and the fruit will depend upon the nature of the seed, so that the results which you secure depend upon your perception of law in the mighty domain of causation, which knowledge is the highest evolution of human consciousness. Thought engenders thought. Place one idea upon paper, another will follow it, and still another, until you have written a page. You cannot fathom your mind. It is a well of thought which has no bottom. The more you draw from it, the more clear and fruitful it will be. If you neglect to think yourself and use other people's thoughts, giving them utterance only, you will never know what you are capable of. G.A. Sala. Part 18, 171. How is the difference in individual lives measured? Answer, by the degree of intelligence which they manifest. Number 172. Why is the law by which the individual may control other forms? 172. What is the law by which the individual may control other forms of intelligence? Answer, a recognition of the self as an individualization of the universal intelligence. Number 173. Where does the creative power originate? Answer, in the universal. 174. How does the universal create form? Answer, by means of the individual. 175. What is the connecting link between the individual and the universal thought? 176. What is the principle by which the means of existence is carried? I've read 175 incorrectly. 175. What is the connecting link between the individual and the universal? Answer, thought. 176. What is the principle by which the means of existence is carried into effect? Answer, the law of love. 177. How is this principle brought into expression? Answer, by the law of growth. Page 160. 178. Upon what condition does the law of growth depend? Answer, upon reciprocal action. The individual is complete at all times, and this makes it possible to receive only as we give. 179. What is it that we give? Answer, thought. Number 180. What do we receive? Answer, thought, which is substance in equilibrium and which is constantly being differentiated in form by what we think. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature. Marcus Antonius. Part 19. This part tells of the search for truth, which is another name for ultimate cause. If we can find the truth, we shall have found the cause for every effect. And having found the cause, we shall be in a position to control the effect. It explains that all things are finally resolvable into one thing, and that, as they are thus translatable, they must ever be in relation and can never be in opposition to one another. It explains that a knowledge of this primary substance is power. It explains that a knowledge of cause and effect is power, that wealth is the offspring of power. The events and conditions are significant only as they affect power, and finally that all things represent certain forms and degrees of power. It tells of a certain form of power which can control every other power. Why is it superior, and how we may make use of the superior power. Fear is a powerful form of thought. It paralyzes the nerve centers, thus affecting the circulation of the blood. This in turn paralyzes the muscular system, so that fear affects the entire being, body, brain, and nerve, physical, mental, and muscular. Of course, the way to overcome fear is to become conscious of power. What is this mysterious vital force which we call power? We do not know. Neither do we know what electricity is. But we do know that by conforming to the requirement of the law by which electricity is governed, it will be our obedient servant, that it will light our homes, our cities, run our machinery, and serve us in many useful capacities. And so, it is with vital force, although we do not know what it is, and possibly may never know, we do know that it is a primary force which manifests itself, force which manifests through living bodies, and that by complying with the laws and principles by which it is governed, we can open ourselves to a more abundant inflow of this vital energy and thus express the highest possible degree of mental, moral, and spiritual efficiency. Part 19, which follows, tells of a very simple way of developing this vital force. If you put into practice the information outlined in this part, you will soon develop the sense of power which has ever been the distinguishing mark of genius. Number 1. The search for truth is no longer a haphazard adventure, but it is a systematic process and is logical in its operation. Every kind of every kind of experience is given a voice in shaping its decision. Number 2, in seeking the truth, we are seeking ultimate cause. We know that every human experience is an effect. Then if we may ascertain the cause, and if we shall find that this cause is one which we can consciously control, the effect or the experience will be within our control also. Number 3, human experience will then no longer be the football of fate. A man will not be the child of fortune, but destiny. Fate and fortune will be controlled as readily as a captain controls his vessel or an engine driver his train. Number 4, all things are finally resolvable into the same element, and as they are thus translatable one into the other, they must ever be in relation and may never be in opposition to one another. Number 5, in the physical world there are innumerable contrasts, and these may for convenience sake be designed by distinctive names. There are sizes, colors, shades, or ends to all things. There is a North Pole and a South Pole, an inside and an outside, a seen and an unseen. But these expressions merely serve to place extremes in contrast. Number 6, they are names given to different parts of one quantity. The two extremes are relative. They are not separate entities, but are two parts of or aspects of the whole. Number 7, in the mental world we find the same law. We speak of knowledge and ignorance, but ignorance is only a lack of knowledge, and is therefore found to be simply a word to express the absence of knowledge. It has no principle in itself. Number 8, in the moral world, we again find the same law. We speak of good and evil. But good is a reality, something tangible, while evil is found to be simply a negative condition, the absence of good. Evil is sometimes thought to be a very real condition, but it has no principle, no vitality, no life. We know this because it can always be destroyed by good, just as truth destroys error and light destroys darkness. So evil vanishes when good appears. There is therefore but one principle in the moral world. Number 9, we find exactly the same law obtaining in the spiritual world. We speak of mind and matter as two separate entities, but clearer insight makes it evident that there is but one operative principle, and that is mind. Number 10, mind is the real and the eternal. Matter is forever changing. We know that in the eons of time, 100 years is but a day. If we stand in any large city and let the eye rest on the innumerable large and magnificent buildings, the railway, the electric trams, the telephones, the electric lights, and all the other conveniences of modern civilization, we may remember that not one of them was there 100 years ago, excepting perhaps several of the buildings. And if we could stand on the same spot in 100 years from now, in all probability, we should find that but few of them remained. In the animal kingdom, we find the same law of change. The millions and millions of animals come and go, a few years constituting their span of life. If in the plant world, the change is still more rapid. Many plants and nearly all grasses come and go in a single year. When we pass to the inorganic, we expect to find something more substantial. But as we gaze on the apparently solid continent, we are told that it arose from the ocean. We see the giant mountain and are told that the place where it now stands was once a lake. And as we stand in awe before the great cliffs of the Yosemite Valley, we can easily trace the path of the glaciers which carried all before them. Number 12, we are in the presence of continual change, and we know that this change is but the evolution of the universal mind, the grand process whereby all things are continually being created anew. And we come to know that matter is but a form which mind takes, and is therefore simply a condition. Matter has no principle, mind is the only principle. We have come to know mind we have come to know the mind is the only principle which is operative in the physical, mental, moral, and spiritual world. Number 14, we also know that this mind is static, or mind at rest, and we know that the ability of the individual to think is his ability to act upon the universal mind and convert it into dynamic mind or mind in motion. Number 15, in order to do this, fuel must be applied in the form of food. For man cannot think without eating. And so we find that even a spiritual activity such as thinking cannot be converted into sources of pleasure and profit except by making use of material means. Number 16. It requires energy of some kind to collect electricity and convert it into a dynamic power. It requires the rays of the sun to give the necessary energy to sustain plant life. So it also requires energy in the form of food to enable the individual to think and thereby act upon the universal mind. Number 17. You may know that thought constantly, eternally, is taking form, is forever seeking expression. Or you may not, but the fact remains that if your thought is powerful, constructive, and positive, this will be plainly evident in the state of your health, your business, and your environment. If your thought is weak, critical, destructive, and negative generally, it will manifest in your body as fear, worry, and nervousness. In your finance, as lack and limitation. And in discordant conditions in your environment. Number 18. All wealth is the offspring of power. Possessions are of value only as they confer power. Events are significant only as they affect power. All things represent certain forms and degrees of power. Number 19. A knowledge of cause and effect is shown by the laws governing steam. Electricity, chemical affinity, and gravitation enables men to plan courageously and to execute fearlessly. These laws are called natural laws because they govern the physical world, but all power is not physical power. There is also mental power, and there is moral and spiritual power. Number 20. What are our schools, our universities, but mental power houses, places where mental power is being developed? Number 21. As there are many mighty powerhouses for the application of power to ponderous machinery, whereby raw material is collected and converted into the necessities and comforts of life, so the mental powerhouses collect the raw material and cultivate and develop it into a power which is infinitely superior to all the forces of nature, marvelous though these may be. Number 22. What is this raw material which is being collected in these thousands of mental powerhouses all over the world and developed into a power which is evidently controlling every other power? In a static form, it is mind. In its dynamic form, it is thought. Number 23. This power is superior because it exists on a higher plane, because it has enabled man to discover the law by which these wonderful forces of nature could be harnessed and made to do the work of hundreds and thousands of men. It has enabled man to discover laws whereby time and space have been annihilated, and now apparently the law of gravitation is to be overcome. Number 24. Thought is the vital force or energy which is being developed and which has produced such startling results in the last half century as to bring about a world which would be absolutely inconceivable to a man existing only 50 or even 25 years ago. If such results have been secured by organizing these mental powerhouses in 50 years, what may not be expected in another 50 years? Number 25. The substance form from which all things are created is infinite in quantity. We know that light travels at the rate of 186,000 miles per second, and we know that there are stars so remote that it takes light 2,000 years to reach us, and we know that such stars exist in all parts of the heaven. We know too that this light comes in waves, so that if the ether on which these waves travel was not continuous, the light would fail to reach us. We can then only come to the conclusion that this substance or ether or raw material is universally present. Number 26. How then does it manifest in form? In electrical science, a battery is formed by connecting the opposite poles of zinc and copper, which causes a current to flow from one to the other and so provides energy. The same process is repeated in respect of every polarity. And as all forms simply depend upon the rate of vibration and consequent relations of atoms to each other. If we wish to change the form of manifestation, we must change the polarity. This is the principle of causation. Number 27. For your next exercise, concentrate. And when I use the word concentrate, I mean all the word implies. Become so absorbed in the object of your thought that you are conscious of nothing else. And do this a few minutes every day. You take the necessary time to eat in order that the body may be nourished. Why not take the time to assimilate your mental food? Number 28. Let the thought rest on the fact that appearances are deceptive. The earth is not flat, neither is it stationary. The sky is not a dome. The sun does not move. The stars are not small specks of light and matter, which was once supposed to be fixed, has been found. The earth is not flat, neither is it stationary. The sky is not a dome. The sun does not move. The stars are not small specks of light. And matter which was once supposed to be fixed has been found to be in a state of perpetual flux. Number 29. Try to realize that the day is fast approaching. Its dawn is now at hand, when modes of thought and action must be adjusted to rapidly increasing knowledge of the operation of eternal principles. Nothing is comparable to the pleasure of an active and prevailing thought. A thought prevailing over the difficulty and obscurity of the object, and refreshing the soul with new discoveries and images of things, and thereby extending the bounds of apprehension and, as it were, enlarging the territory of reason. Self. Part 19. 181. How are extremes placed in contrast? They are designated by distinctive names, such as inside and outside, top and bottom, light and dark, good and bad. Number 182. Are these separate entities? Answer: no, they are parts or aspects of one whole. Number 183. What is the one creative principle of the physical, mental, and spiritual world? Answer: the universal mind, or the eternal energy from which all things proceed. 184. How are we related to this active principle? Answer: by our ability to think. 185. How does this creative principle become operative? Answer: thought is a seed which results in action, and action results in form. 186. Upon what does form depend? Answer: upon the rate of vibration. 187. How may the rate of vibration be changed? Answer: by mental action. 188. Upon what does mental action depend? Answer: upon polarity, action and reaction between the individual and the universal. 189. Does the creative energy originate in the individual or the universal? Answer: in the universal, but the universal can manifest only through the individual. 190. Why is the individual necessary? Answer: because the universal is static and requires energy to start it in motion. This is furnished by food which is converted into energy, which in turn enables the individual to think. When the individual stops eating, he stops thinking. Then he no longer acts upon the universal. There is consequently no longer any action or reaction. The universal is then only pure mind in static form, mind at rest. There is no thought in my mind, but it quickly tends to convert itself into power and organizes a huge instrumentality of means. Emerson. We're on page 168, part 20. Hope you have been having a pleasant time thus far reading with me. And I hope your day has gone nicely. And thank you for subscribing. And thank you for viewing my amazing videos. I look forward to seeing your amazing comments and your amazing, important feedback. Page 168, part 20. Please do share feedback. Please let me know. Do you like my style of reading? Does the message resonate with you? And have you gained from these amazing insights? Page 168, part 20. This part tells what the true business of life is and the result. It shows that we can obtain no results as long as we remain oblivious to the only power there is, an understanding of the principles, forces, methods, and combinations of mind and its relation to the universal mind. It explains that the universal can act only through the individual. It shows that we are the channel for its activity. That it is within us, that we are it. We can, of course, fail to recognize it and so exclude it from our consciousness. But it will nevertheless be the basic fact of all existence. It tells the inspiration, the art of adjusting the individual mind so that the universal, the art of becoming, a channel for the flow of infinite wisdom. For many years, there has been an endless discussion as to the origin of evil. Theologians have told us that God is love, and that God is omnipresent. If this be true, there's no place where God is not. Where then are evil, Satan, and hell? Let us see. God is spirit. Spirit is the creative principle of the universe. Man is made in the image and likeness of God. Man is therefore a spiritual being. The only activity which spirit possesses is the power to think. Thinking is therefore a spiritual being. The only activity which spirit possesses is the power to think. Thinking is therefore a creative process. All forms is therefore the result of the thinking process. The destruction of form must also be a result of the thinking process. Fictitious representations of form are the result of the creative power of thought, as in hypnotism. Apparent representations of form are the result of the creative power of thought, as in spiritualism. Invention, organization, and constructive work of all kinds are the result of the creative power of thought, as in concentration. When the creative power of thought is manifested for the benefit of humanity, we call the result good. When the creative power of thought is manifested in a destructive or evil manner, we call the result evil. This indicates the origin of both good and evil. They are simply words which have been coined in order to indicate the nature of the result of the thinking or creative process. Thought necessarily precedes and predetermines action. Action precedes and predetermines condition. Part 20 will throw more light upon this important subject. Number 1. The spirit of a thing is that thing. It is necessarily fixed, changeless, and eternal. The spirit of you is you. Without the spirit, you would be nothing. It becomes active through your recognition of it and its possibilities. Number 2. You may have all the wealth in Christendom, but unless you recognize it and make use of it, it will have no value. So with your spiritual wealth, unless you recognize it and use it, it will have no value. The one and only condition of spiritual power is use or recognition. Number 3. All great things come through recognition. The scepter of power is consciousness, and thought is its messenger. And this messenger is constantly molding the realities of the invisible world into the conditions and environment of our objective world. Number 4. Thinking is a true business of life. Power is a result. You are, at all times, dealing with the magical power of thought and consciousness. What result can you expect so long as you remain oblivious to the power which has been placed within your control? So long as you do this, you limit yourself to superficial conditions and make of yourself a beast of burden for those who think, those who recognize the power, those who know that unless we are willing to think, we shall have to work, And the less we think, the more we shall have to work. And the less we shall get for our work, and the less we shall get for our work. Page number 170, The Secrets of Power. The secret of power is a perfect understanding of the principle, forces, methods, and combinations of mind, and a perfect understanding of our relationship to the universal mind. It is well to remember that this principle is unchangeable. If this were not so, it would not be reliable. All principles are changeless. The stability is your opportunity. You are its active attribute, the channel for its activity. The universal can act only through the individual. Number 8. When you begin to perceive that the essence of the universal is within yourself, is you begin to do things. You begin to feel your power. It is the fuel which fires the imagination, which lights the torch of inspiration, which gives vitality to thought, which enables you to connect with all the invisible forces to the universe. With all the invisible forces of the universe. It is this power which will enable you to plan fearlessly, to execute masterfully. Number 9. But perception will come only in the silence. This seems to be the condition required for all great purposes. You are a visualizing entity. Imagination is your workshop. It is here that your ideal is to be visualized. Number 10. As a perfect understanding of the nature of this power is a primary condition for its manifestation, visualize the entire method over and over again, so that you may use it whenever occasion requires. Supreme wisdom is to follow the method whereby we may have the inspiration of the omnipotent universal mind on demand at any time. Number 11. We can fail to recognize this world within, and so exclude it from our consciousness, but it will still be the basic fact of all existence. And when we learn to recognize it, not only in ourselves, but in all persons, events, things, and circumstances, we shall have found the kingdom of heaven, which we are told is within us. Number 12. Our failures as a result of the operation of exactly the same principle. The principle is unchangeable. Its operation is exact. There is no deviation. If we think lack, limitation, discord, I did not put that for you to see. Number 12. Our failures are a result of the operation of exactly the same principle. The principle is unchangeable. Its operation is exact. There is no deviation. If we think lack, limitation, discord, we shall find their fruits on every hand. If we think poverty, unhappiness, or disease, the thought messengers will carry the summons as readily as any other kind of thought, and the result will be just as certain. If we fear a coming calamity, we shall be able to say with Job, "The thing I feared has come upon me." If we think unkindly or ignorantly, we shall thus attract to ourselves the result of our ignorance. Number 13. This power of thought, if understood and correctly used, is the greatest labor-saving device ever dreamed of. But if not understood, is improperly used, the result will in all probability be disastrous. As we have already seen, by the help of this power, you can confidently undertake things that are seemingly impossible, because this power is the secret of all inspiration, all genius. Number 14. To become inspired means to get out of the beaten path, out of the rut, because extraordinary results require extraordinary means. When we come into a recognition of the unity of all things, and the source of all power is within, we tap the source of inspiration. Number 15. Inspiration is the art of imbibing.
The art of self-realization, the art of adjusting the individual mind to the universal mind, the art of attaching a proper mechanism to the source of all power, the art of differentiating the formless into form, the art of becoming a channel for the flow of infinite wisdom, the art of visualizing perfection, the art of realizing the omnipresence of omnipotence. Number 16, an understanding and appreciation of the fact that the infinite power is omnipresent and is therefore in the infinitely small as well as the infinitely large will enable us to absorb its essence. A further understanding of the fact that this power is spirit and therefore indivisible will enable us to appreciate its presence at all points at the same time. Number 17, an understanding of these facts, first intellectually and then emotionally, will enable us to drink deeply from this ocean of infinite power. An intellectual understanding will be of no assistance. An intellectual understanding will be of no assistance. The emotions must be brought into action. Thought without feeling is cold. The required combination is thought and feeling. Number 18. Inspiration is from within. The silence is necessary. The senses must be stilled. The muscles relaxed. Repose cultivated. When you have thus come into possession of a sense of poise and power, you will be ready to receive the information or inspiration or wisdom which may be necessary for the development of your purpose. Number 19. Do not confuse these methods with those of the clairvoyant. They have nothing in common. Inspiration is the art of receiving. And makes for all that is best in life. Your business in life is to understand and command these invisible forces instead of letting them command and rule you. Power implies service. Inspiration implies power. To understand and apply the method of inspiration is to become a superman. Number 20. We live more abundantly every time we breathe. If we consciously breathe with that intention, the if is a very important condition in this case, as intention governs the attention, and without the attention you can secure only the result which everyone else secures. That is supply equal to the demand. Number 21. In order to secure the larger supply, your demand must be increased. And as you consciously increase the demand, the supply will follow. You will find yourself coming into a larger and larger supply of life, energy, and vitality. Number 22. The reason for this is not difficult to understand, but it is another of the vital mysteries of life, which does not seem to be generally appreciated. If you make it your own, you will find it one of the great realities of life. Number 23. We are told that, quote, in him we live and move and have our being, end quote. And we are told that, quote, he, end quote, is a spirit. And again, that, quote, he, end quote, is love. So every time we breathe as life, love, and spirit. This is a pranic energy or pranic ether. We could not exist a moment without it. It is the cosmic energy. It is the life of the solar plexus. Number 24. Every time we breathe, we fill our lungs with air and at the same time vitalize our body with this pranic ether, which is life itself, so that we have the opportunity of making a conscious connection with all life, all intelligence, and all substance. Number 25. A knowledge of your relation of the oneness with this principle that governs the universe, and the simple method whereby you can consciously identify yourself with it, gives you a scientific understanding of a law whereby you may free yourself from disease, from lack or limitation of any kind. In fact, it enables you to breathe the breath of life into your own nostrils. Number 26. The breath of life is a subconscious reality. It is the essence of the I am. It is pure being or universal substance. And our conscious unity with it enables us to localize it and thus exercise the power of this creative energy. Number 27. Thought is creative vibration, and the quality of the conditions created will depend upon the quality of our thought, because we cannot express powers which we do not possess. We must, quote, be, end quote, before we can, quote, do, end quote. And we can, quote, do, end quote, only to the extent to which we, quote, are, end quote. And so what we do will necessarily coincide with what we, quote, are, end quote. And what we are depends upon what we, quote, think, end quote. Every time you think, you start a train of causation, which will create a condition in strict accordance with the quality of the thought, which originated it. Thought which is in harmony with the universal mind will result in corresponding conditions. Thought which is destructive or discordant will produce corresponding results. You may use thought constructively or destructively, but the immutable law will not allow you to plant a thought of one kind and reap the fruit of another. You are free to use this marvelous creative power as you will, but you must take the consequences. Number 29. This is the danger from what is called willpower. There are those who seem to think that by force of will they can coerce this law, that they can sow seed of one kind and by willpower make it bear fruit of another. But the fundamental principle of creative power is the universal, and therefore the idea of forcing a compliance with our wishes by the power of the individual will is an inverted conception which may appear to succeed for a while, but is eventually doomed to failure, because it antagonizes the very power which it is seeking to use. It is the individual attempting to coerce the universal, the finite, in conflict with the infinite. Our permanent well-being will be best conserved by a conscious cooperation with the continuous forward movement of the great whole. Number 31. For your next exercise, go into the silence and concentrate on the fact that, quote, in him we live and move and have our being, end quote, is literally and scientifically exact. That you are because he is. That if he is omnipresent, he must be in you. That if he is all in you, all you must be in him. Thus, he is spirit, and you are made in his image and likeness, and that the only difference between his spirit and your spirit is one of degree. That a part must be the same in kind and qualify as the whole. When you can realize this clearly, you will have found the secret of the creative power of thought. You will have found the origin of both good and evil. You will have found the secret of the wonderful power of concentration. You will have found the key to the solution of every problem, whether physical, financial, or environmental. Learning without thought is labor lost. Thought without learning is perilous. Thinkers are as scarce as gold, but he whose thoughts embrace all their subject, who pursues it uninterruptedly and fearless of consequences, is a diamond of enormous size. Lavater. Part 20, 191. Upon what condition does power depend? Answer: upon recognition and use. 192. What is recognition? Consciousness. 193. How do we become conscious of power? By thinking. 194. What then is the true business of life? Answer: correct scientific thinking. 195. What is correct scientific thinking? The ability to adjust our thought process to the will of the universal. In other words, to cooperate with natural laws. Number 196. How is this accomplished? Answer: by securing a perfect understanding of the principles, forces, methods, and combinations of mind. 197. What is this universal mind? Answer: the basic fact of all existence. 198. What is the cause of all lack, limitation, disease, and discord? Answer: it is due to the operation of exactly the same law. The law operates relentlessly and is continually bringing about conditions in correspondence with the thought which originated or created them. Number 199. What is inspiration? Answer: the art of realizing the omnipresence of omniscience. 200. Upon what do conditions with which we might 200. Upon what do the conditions with which we meet depend? Answer: upon the quality of our thought, because what we do depends upon what we are, and what we are depends upon what we think. All truly wise thoughts have been thought already thousands of times, but to make them truly ours, we must think them over again honestly, till they take root in our personal experience. Goethe. I think I should repeat that because it's really important. All truly wise thoughts have been thought already thousands of times, but to make them truly ours, we must think them over again honestly, till they take root in our personal experience. Goethe. We are now on page 176, part 21. Thank you for joining me as I read. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And please let me know what you think. What do you think of my style of reading? How do you feel about the messages being delivered? Does it resonate with you? Does my style of reading help you absorb this information? Please leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I much appreciate it. Page 176, part 21. This part explains how we may come into possession of power sufficient to meet every situation which may arise in life. It explains that the ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depends upon mental action. It explains that great ideas have a tendency to eliminate smaller ideas, so that it is well to hold ideas which are large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This is one of the secrets of success, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. It explains that the creative energy finds no more difficulty in handling a large situation than a small one. It explains how conditions are produced. It explains how conditions are produced in our lives by the predominant thoughts which we entertain. It explains how you may set causes in motion which will create an irresistible magnetic power which will bring the things you require to you. It explains the issue between the old regime and the new. It explains the crux of the social problem. It explains the true secret of wealth, of health, wealth, and power. In paragraph 7 of this part, you will find that one of the secrets of success, one of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind is to think big thoughts. In paragraph 8, you'll find that everything which we hold in our consciousness for any length of time becomes impressed upon our subconsciousness, and so becomes a pattern. Which the creative energy will weave into our life and environment. This is the secret of the wonderful power of prayer. We know that the universe is governed by law, that for every effect there must be a cause, and that the same cause, under the same conditions, will invariably produce the same effect. Consequently, if prayer has ever been answered, it will always be. Consequently, if prayer has ever been answered, it will always be answered. If the proper conditions are complied with, this must necessarily be true. Otherwise, the universe would be a chaos instead of a cosmos. The answer to prayer is therefore to object to law. And this law is definite, exact, and scientific. Just as are the laws governing gravitation and electricity. An understanding of this law takes the foundation of Christianity out of the realm of superstition and credulity. Let me repeat that. An understanding of this law takes the foundation of Christianity out of the realm of superstition and credulity, and places it upon the firm rock of scientific understanding. But unfortunately, there are comparatively few persons who know how to pray. They understand that there are laws governing electricity, mathematics, and chemistry, but for some inexplicable reason, it never seems to occur to them that there are also spiritual laws, and that these laws are also definite, scientific, exact, and operate with immutable precision. Number one, the real secret of power is consciousness of power. The universal mind is unconditional. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with this mind, the less conscious we shall become of conditions and limitations. And as we become emancipated or freed from conditions, we come into a realization of the unconditional. We have become free. Number two, as soon as we become conscious of the inexhaustible power and the world within, we begin to draw on this power and apply and develop the greater possibilities which this discernment has realized. Because whatever we become conscious of is invariably manifested in the objective world, is brought forth into tangible expression. Number three, this is because the infinite mind, which is the source from which all things proceed, is one and indivisible. And each individual is a channel whereby this eternal energy is being manifested. Our ability to think is our ability to act upon this universal substance. And what we think is what we create. What we think is what is created or produced in the objective world. Number four, the result of this discovery is nothing less than marvelous. It means that mind is extraordinary in quality, limitless in quantity, and contains possibilities without number. To become conscious of this power is to become a live wire. It has the same effect as placing an ordinary wire in contact with a wire that is charged. The universal is the live wire. It carries power sufficient to meet every situation which may arise in the life of every individual. When the individual mind touches the universal mind, it receives all the power it requires. I'll repeat that. When the individual mind touches the universal mind, it receives all the power it requires. This is the world within. All science recognizes the reality of this world, and all power is contingent upon our recognition of this world. Number five, the ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depends upon mental action, and mental action depends upon consciousness of power. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with the source of all power, the greater will be our power to control and master every condition. Number six, large ideas have a tendency to eliminate all smaller ideas. so that it is well to hold ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This will remove innumerable petty and annoying obstacles from your path. You also become conscious of a larger world of thought, thereby increasing your mental capacity as well as placing yourself in position to accomplish something of value. Number 7. This is one of the secrets of success, one of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. He thinks big thoughts. The creative energies of mind find no more difficulty in handling large situations than small ones. Mind is just as much present in the infinitely large as in the infinitely small. 8. When we realize these facts concerning mind, we understand how we may bring to ourselves any condition by creating the corresponding conditions in our consciousness. Because everything which is held for any length of time in the consciousness eventually becomes impressed upon the subconscious, and thus becomes a pattern which the creative energy will weave into the life and environment of the individual. Number 9. In this way, conditions are produced, and we find that our lives are simply the reflection of our predominant thoughts. Our mental attitude. We see then that the science of correct thinking is the one science that it includes all other sciences. Number 10. From the science we learn that every thought creates an impression in the brain, that these impressions create mental tendencies, and these tendencies create character, ability, and purpose, and that the combined action of character, ability, and purpose determines the experiences with which we shall meet in life. Number 11. These experiences come to us through the law of attraction. Through the action of this law, we meet in the world without the experiences which correspond to our world within. I'm going to repeat that because I think I read that incorrectly. These experiences come to us through the law of attraction. Through the action of this law, we meet in the world without the experiences which correspond to our world within. Number 12. The predominant thought of the mental attitude is a magnet, and the law is that like attracts like. Consequently, the mental attitude will invariably attract such conditions as correspond to its nature. Number 13. This mental attitude is our personality and is composed of the thoughts which we have been creating in our mind. Therefore, if we wish a change in conditions, all that is necessary is to change our thought. This will in turn change our mental attitude, which will in turn change our personality, which will in turn change the person, things, and conditions or the expressions with which we meet in life. Number 14. It is, however, no easy matter to change the mental attitude, but by persistent effort it may be accomplished. The mental attitude is patterned after the mental pictures, which have been photographed on the brain. If you do not like the pictures, destroy the negatives and create new pictures. This is the art of visualization. Number 15. As soon as you have done this, you will begin to attract new things, and the new things will correspond to the new pictures. To do this, impress on the mind a perfect picture of the desire which you wish to have objectified, and continue to hold the picture in mind until results are obtained. Number 16. If the desire is one which requires determination, ability, talent, courage, power, or any other spiritual power, these are necessary essentials for your picture. Build them in. They are the vital part of the picture. They are the feeling which combines with thought and creates irresistible magnetic power, which draws the things you require to you. They give your picture life, and life means growth. And as soon as it begins to grow, the result is practically assured. Number 17. Do not hesitate to aspire to the highest possible attainments in anything you may undertake, for the mind forces are ever ready to lend themselves to a purposeful will and the effort to crystallize its highest aspirations into acts, accomplishments, and events. Number 18. An illustration of how these mind forces operate is suggested by the method in which all our habits are formed. We do a thing, then do it again, and again, until it becomes easy and perhaps almost automatic. And the same rule applies in breaking any and all bad habits. We stop doing a thing and then avoid it again and again until we are entirely free from it. And if we do fail now and then, we should by no means lose hope, for the law is absolute and invincible, and gives us credit for every effort and every success, even though our efforts and successes are perhaps intermittent. Number 19. There is no limit. I'm going to have to repeat number 18 because it's so important. An illustration of how these mind forces operate is suggested by the method in which all our habits are formed. We do a thing, then do it again, and again, until it becomes easy and perhaps automatic. And the same rule applies in breaking any and all bad habits. We stop doing a thing and then avoid it again and again until we are entirely free from it. And if we do fail now and then, we should by no means lose hope, for the law is absolute and invincible and gives us credit for every effort and every success, even though our efforts and successes are perhaps intermittent. Number 19. There's no limit to what this law can do for you. Dare to believe in your own ideal. Remember that nature is plastic to the ideal. Think of the ideal as an already accomplished fact. Number 20. The real battle of life is one of ideas. It is being fought out by the few against the many. On the one side is the constructive and creative thought. On the other side is the destructive and negative thought. The creative thought is dominated by an ideal. The passive thought is dominated by appearances. On both sides are men of science, men of letters, and men of affairs. Number 21. On the creative side are men who spend their time in laboratories or even microscopes and telescopes side by side with these men who dominate the commercial, political, and scientific world. On the negative side are men who spend their time investigating law and precedent, men who make theology for religion, statesmen who mistake might for right, and all the millions who seem to prefer precedent to progress, who are eternally looking backward instead of forward, who see only the world without, but know nothing of the world within. Number 22. In the last analysis, there are but these two classes. All men will have to take their place on one side or the other. They will have to go forward or go back. There's no standing still in a world where all is motion. It is this attempt to stand still that gives sanction and force to arbitrary and inequitable codes of law. Number 23. We are in a period of transition is evidenced by the unrest which is everywhere apparent. The complaint of humanity is as a roll of heaven's artillery, commencing with low and threatening notes and increasing till the sound is sent from cloud to cloud, and the lightning rends the air and earth. Number 24. The sentries who patrol the most advanced outposts of the industrial, political, and religious world are calling anxiously to each other. What of the night? The danger and insecurity of the position. They occupy and attempt to hold are becoming more apparent every hour. The dawn of a new era necessarily declares that the existing order of things cannot much longer be. Number 25. The issue Between the old regime and the new, the crux of the social problem is entirely a question of conviction in the minds of the people as to the nature of the universe. When they realize that the transcendent force of spirit or mind of the cosmos is within each individual, it will be possible to frame laws that shall consider the liberties and rights of the many instead of the privileges of the few. Number 26. As long as the people regard the cosmic power as a power non-human and alien to humanity, so long will it be comparatively easy for a supposed privileged class to rule by divine right in spite of every protest of social sentiment. The real interest of humanity is therefore to exalt, emancipate, and recognize the divinity of the human spirit, to recognize that all power is from within, that no human being has any more power than any other human being, except such as may willingly be delegated to him. The old regime would have us believe that the law was superior to the lawmakers. Herein is the gist of the social crime of every form of privilege and personal inequality, the institutionalizing of the fantastic doctrine of divine election. Number 27. The divine mind is the universal mind. It does not act through sheer caprice, or from anger, jealousy, or wrath. Neither can it be flattered, cajoled, or moved by sympathy or petition. To supply man with some need which he thinks necessary for his happiness or even his existence. The divine mind makes no exception in favor of any individual, but when the individual understands and realizes his unity with the universal principle, he will appear to be favored, because he will have found the source of all health, all wealth, and all power. Number 28. For your next exercise, concentrate on the truth. Try to realize that the truth shall make you free. That is, nothing can permanently stand in the way of your perfect success when you learn to apply the scientifically correct thought methods and principles. Realize that you are externalizing in your environment your inherent soul potencies. Realize that the silence offers an ever available and almost an almost unlimited opportunity for awakening the highest consciousness of truth. Try to comprehend the omnipotence itself. Try to comprehend that omnipotence itself is absolute silence. All else is change, activity, limitation. Silent thought concentration is therefore the true method of reaching, awakening, and then expressing the wonderful potential power of the world within. The possibilities of thought training are infinite, its consequence eternal, and yet few take the pains to direct their thinking into channels that will do them good, but instead leave all to chance. Margin. Part 21. 201. What is the real secret of power? Answer: the consciousness of power. Because whatever we become conscious of is invariably manifested in the objective world, is brought forth into tangible expression. What is the source of this power? The universal mind from which all things proceed and which is one and indivisible. 203. How is this power being manifested? Answer: through the individual. Each individual is a channel whereby this energy is being differentiated in form. 204. How may we connect with this omnipotence? Answer: our ability to think is our ability to act on the universal energy. And what we think is what is produced or created in the objective world. 205. What is the result of this discovery? Answer: the result is nothing less than marvelous. It opens unprecedented and limitless opportunity. 206. How then may we eliminate imperfect conditions? Answer: by becoming conscious of our unity with the source of all power. 207. What is one of the distinctive characteristics of the mastermind? Answer: he thinks big thoughts. He holds ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all petty and annoying obstacles. to await. How do experiences come to us? Answer: through the law of attraction. 209. How is this law brought into operation? Answer: by our predominant mental attitude. 210. What is the issue between the old regime and the new? Answer: a question of conviction as to the nature of the universe. The old regime is trying to cling to the fatalistic doctrine of divine election. The new regime recognizes the divinity of the individual, the divinity of humanity. The power to think consecutively and deeply and clearly is an avowed and deadly enemy to mistakes, blunders, superstitions, unscientific theories, irrational beliefs, unbridled enthusiasm, fanaticism, headache. We are now on page 184. We are on part 22. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please let me know what you think of my style of reading. Please let me know what you think of these ideas that I'm reading to you. And please share your thoughts, your feedback, and your comments. They are important to me. Part 22. This part explains the cause of our present character, our present environment, our present ability, our present physical condition, and tells how we can make our future what we wish it to be. It explains how the vast panorama of nature is being constantly changed by simply changing the rate of vibration. It tells how the rate of vibration is being constantly changed in our bodies, usually unconsciously, and often with detrimental and disastrous results. It tells how we may affect this change consciously and thus bring about only harmonious and salutary conditions. It explains that the law of health is based on the law of vibration, and that with a proper knowledge of the law, we may externalize health conditions. It explains the operations of this law and how it is being more generally understood and appreciated, and how many physicians are now giving this matter their earnest attention. In part 22, you will find that thoughts are spiritual seeds, which when planted in the subconscious mind have a tendency to sprout and grow. But unfortunately, the fruit is frequently not to our liking. The various forms of inflammation, paralysis, nervousness, and disease conditions generally are the manifestation of fear, worry, care, anxiety, jealousy, hatred, and similar thought. The life processes are carried on by two distinct methods. Firstly, the taking up and making use of nutritive material necessary for constructing cells. Secondly, the secretion and excretion of the waste material. All life is based upon these constructive and destructive activities. And as food, water, and air are the only requisites necessary for the construction of cells, it would seem that the problem of prolonging life indefinitely would not be a very difficult one. However strange it may seem, it is a second or destructive activity that is with rare exception the cause of all disease. The waste material accumulates and saturates the tissues, which causes auto intoxication. This may be partial or general. It is the first case. In the first case, the disturbance will be local, and in the second place, it will affect the whole system. The problem, then, before us in the healing of disease is to increase the inflow and distribution of vital energy throughout the system. And this can only be done by eliminating thoughts of fear, worry, care, anxiety, jealousy, hatred, and every other destructive thought, which tend to tear down and destroy the nerves and glands which control the excretion and elimination of poisonous and waste matter. Nourishing foods and strengthening tonics cannot bestow life, because these are but secondary manifestations of life. The primary manifestation of life, and how you may get in touch with it, is explained in part 22. Number 1. Knowledge is of priceless value, because by applying knowledge, we can make our future what we wish it to be. When we realize that our present character, our present environment, our present ability, our present physical condition are all the result of past method of thinking, we shall begin to have some conception of the value of knowledge. Number 2. If the state of our health is not all that it could, if the state of our health is not all that could be desired, let us examine our method of thinking. Let us remember that every thought produces an impression on the mind. Every impression is a seed which will sink into the subconscious and form a tendency. The tendency will be to attract other similar thoughts, and therefore we know we shall have a crop which must be harvested. Number 3. If these thoughts contain disease germs, the harvest will be sickness, decay, weakness, and failure. The question is, what are we thinking? What are we creating? What is the harvest to be? Number 4. If there's any physical condition which it is necessary to change, the law governing visualization will be found effective. Make a mental image of physical perfection. Hold it in the mind until it is absorbed by the consciousness. Many have eliminated chronic ailments in a few weeks by this method, and thousands have overcome and destroyed all manner of ordinary physical disturbances by this method in a few days, sometimes in a few minutes. Imagine that. Many have eliminated chronic ailments in a few weeks by this method, and thousands have overcome and destroyed all manner of ordinary physical disturbances by this method in a few days, sometimes in a few minutes. Number 5. It is through the law of vibration that the mind exercises this control over the body. We know that every mental action is a vibration, and we know that all form is simply a mode of motion, a rate of vibration. Therefore, any given vibration immediately modifies every atom in the body. Every life cell is affected, and an entire chemical change is made in every group of life cells. Number 6. Everything in the universe is what it is by virtue of its state of vibration. Change the rate of vibration and you change the nature, quality, and form. The vast panorama of nature, both visible and invisible, is being constantly changed by simply changing the rate of vibration. And as thought is a vibration, we can also exercise this power. We can change the vibration and thus produce any condition which we desire to manifest in our bodies. Number 7. We are all using this power every minute. The trouble is most of us are using it unconsciously and thus producing undesirable results. The problem is to use it intelligently and produce only desirable results. This should not be difficult because we all have had sufficient experiences to know what produces pleasant vibration in the body, and we also know the causes which produce the unpleasant and disagreeable sensations. Number 8. All that is necessary is to consult our own experience. When our thought has been uplifted, progressive, constructive, courageous, I beg your pardon. Let me repeat that. Number 8. I'm sorry, that was hard to read. All that is necessary to consult our own experience. When our thought has been uplifted, progressive, constructive, courageous, noble, kind, or in any way desirable, we have set in motion vibrations which brought about certain results. When our thought has been filled with envy, hatred, jealousy, criticism, or any of the other 1,001 forms of discord, certain vibrations were set in motion which brought about certain other results of a different nature, and each of these rates of vibration, if kept up, crystallized in form. In the first case, the result was mental, moral, and physical health, And the second case, discord, disharmony, and disease. Number 9, we can understand then something of the power which the mind possesses over the body. Number 10, the objective mind has certain effects on the body which are readily recognized. Sometimes, someone says something to you which strikes you as ludicrous, and you laugh. Possibly until your whole body shakes, which shows that thought has control of the muscles of your body. Or someone says something which excites your sympathy, and your eyes fill with tears, which shows that thoughts control the glands of the body. Or someone says something which makes you angry, and the blood mounts to your cheek, which shows that thought controls the circulation of your blood. But as these experiences are all the results of the action of your objective mind over the body, the results are of a temporary nature. They soon pass away and leave the situation as it was before. 11. Let us see how the action of the subconscious mind over the body differs. You receive a wound. Thousands of cells begin to work of healing at once. Thousands of cells begin the work of healing at once. In a few days or a few weeks, the work is complete. You may even break a bone. No surgeon on earth can weld the parts together. He may set the bone for you, and the subjective mind will immediately begin the process of welding the parts together. And in a short time, the bone is as solid as it ever was. You may swallow poison. The subjective mind will immediately discover the danger and make violent efforts to eliminate it. You may become infected with a dangerous germ. The subjective will at once commence to build a wall around the infected area and destroy the infection by absorbing it in the white blood corpuscles which it supplied for the purpose. Number 12. These processes of the subconscious mind usually proceed without our personal knowledge or direction. And so long as we do not interfere, the result is perfect. But as these millions of repair cells are all intelligent and respond to our thought, they are often paralyzed and rendered impotent by our thoughts of fear, doubt, and anxiety. They are like an army of workmen, ready to start an important piece of work, but every time they get fairly started on the undertaking, a strike is called, or plans change, until they finally get discouraged and give up. Number 13, the way to health is founded on the law of vibration, which is the basis of all science. And this law is brought into operation by the mind. The world within, it is a matter of individual effort and practice. Our world of power is within. If we are wise, we shall not waste time and effort in trying to deal with effects as we find them in the world without, which is only an external, a reflection. Number 14, we shall always find the cause in the world within. By changing the cause, we change the effect. Number 15, every cell in our body is intelligent and will respond to your directions. The cells are creators, are all creators, and will create the exact pattern which you give them. Number 16. Therefore, when perfect images are placed before the subjective, the creative energies will build a perfect body. Number 17. Brain cells are constructed in the same way. The quality of the brain is governed by the state of mind, or mental attitude, so that if undesirable mental attitudes are conveyed to the subjective, they will in turn be transferred to the body. We can therefore readily see that if we wish the body to manifest health, strength, and vitality, this must be the predominant thought. 18. We know that every element of the human body is the result of a rate of vibration. 19. We know that mental action is a rate of vibration. Number 20, we know that a higher rate of vibration governs, modifies, controls, changes, or destroys a lower rate of vibration. 21. We know that the rate of vibration is governed by the character of brain cells. 22. Finally, we know how to create these brain cells. 23. Therefore, we know how to make any physical change in the body we desire, and having secured a working knowledge of the power of mind to this extent, we have come to know that there is practically no limitations which can be placed upon our ability to place ourselves in harmony with natural law, which is omnipotent. Number 24. This influence or control of the body by the mind is coming to be more and more generally understood, and many physicians are now giving the matter their earnest attention. Dr. Albert T. Schofield, who has written several important books on the subject, says, the subject of mental therapeutics is still ignored in medical works generally. In our physiologies, no reference is made to the central controlling power that rules the body for its good, and the power of the mind over the body is seldom spoken of. Number 25. No doubt many physicians treat nervous diseases of functional origin wisely and well, but what we contend is that the knowledge they display was taught at no school, was learned from no book, but is intuitive and empirical. I'm going to carry on page 189 on the next video. I'm going to take a short break and come back on another video. Thank you for joining me as I read this amazing book, which teaches you lessons for life, and it improves your life tenfold if you read this book. If you take in these ideas, you absorb them. Please leave your feedback. It'll be much appreciated. I look forward to seeing your comments, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you're having a lovely, beautiful day. Your feedback is important to me. I shall see you soon.